He was the relentless force behind the meteoric rise of his children, including global superstars Michael and Janet Jackson. But beneath the surface of this extraordinary success was a life woven with both remarkable achievements and profound sorrows. In his final years, as his health declined and his once vast estate fell into disrepair, the world witnessed the slow, grim decline of a man whose influence had been as controversial as it had been transformative. When he passed away in 2018, it marked the end of a complex legacy, leaving behind questions about his true impact on music and a surprisingly significant fortune that belied his complex history. Join us as we delve into the fascinating and often controversial story of Joe Jackson, exploring the triumphs, tragedies, and indelible mark of the figure who forever changed the face of the music industry. Joe Jackson, an American music manager, left an indelible mark on the industry, amassing a net worth of $500,000 by the time of his passing in 2018. However, his true legacy lies not in his financial standing but in the extraordinary musical dynasty he helped create. Joe Jackson is best known for being the patriarch of a family that produced some of the world's most iconic pop stars, including the legendary Michael Jackson, the multi-talented La Toya Jackson, and the incomparable Janet Jackson. As the manager of the Jackson 5, Joe Jackson played a pivotal role in launching the careers of his children. Under his guidance, the Jackson 5 achieved unprecedented success, becoming the first American group to have their first 4 singles soar straight to the top of the Billboard Hot 100 singles chart. This remarkable feat catapulted the Jackson family into the stratosphere of global stardom, setting the stage for the individual successes of Michael, Janet, and their siblings. Joe Jackson's influence extended far beyond the confines of his family. His unyielding ambition and relentless drive shaped the careers of his children, turning them into international sensations. While his management style was often controversial and sometimes criticized for its intensity, there is no denying the impact he had on the music industry. The Jackson 5's meteoric rise and the subsequent solo careers of Michael and Janet are a testament to Joe Jackson's vision and determination. Though his net worth may not reflect the astronomical success of his children, Joe Jackson's legacy is immeasurable. He was a force to be reckoned with, a man who saw the potential in his family and worked tirelessly to bring that potential to fruition. His story is one of ambition, perseverance, and the power of belief in one's dreams. As we remember Joe Jackson, we celebrate not just his role as a manager but his impact as a father and a visionary. His legacy lives on through the music of his children and the indelible mark they have left on the world. Born on July 26, 1928, in the small town of Fountain Hill, Arkansas, Joe Jackson entered the world as the eldest of 5 children to Crystal Lee and Samuel Joseph Jackson. His father, a teacher, was known for his strict and domineering nature, casting a long shadow over Joe's childhood. Growing up, Joe reportedly felt isolated and lonely, with few friends to share his formative years. This challenging upbringing would shape his character and influence his future relationships. At the tender age of 12, Joe's life took a dramatic turn when his parents separated. His siblings moved with their mother to East Chicago, Indiana, while Joe was left to accompany his father to Oakland, California. This separation from his family added another layer of complexity to his already troubled childhood. When Joe was 18, his father remarried, prompting him to reunite with the rest of his family in East Chicago. However, his educational journey was cut short, as he did not complete high school. Joe Jackson's early life was marked by adversity and a sense of disconnection, experiences that would later inform his approach to parenting and managing his children's careers. His strict upbringing and the emotional distance he felt from his family would leave an indelible mark on his personality and his relationships with his own children. Despite the challenges he faced, Joe Jackson would go on to become a formidable figure in the music industry, guiding the careers of his incredibly talented offspring. His unyielding ambition and relentless drive would propel the Jackson family to global stardom, forever changing the landscape of popular music. In the bustling industrial landscape of East Chicago, Joe Jackson found employment at the Inland Steel Company, a job that would set the stage for a significant chapter in his life. It was during this time that he pursued his dream of becoming a boxer, finding success through the Golden Gloves program. With his sights set on a professional athletic career, Joe's life took an unexpected turn when he crossed paths with a 17-year-old student named Catherine Screws, who attended nearby Washington High School. Despite being married at the time, Joe was immediately drawn to Catherine. In a swift and decisive move, he had his existing union annulled to be with her. Their connection was undeniable, and in November 1949, Joe and Catherine tied the knot. The newlyweds purchased their first home, a modest two-bedroom house in Gary, Indiana, marking the beginning of their life together. Over the years, Joe and Catherine welcomed 10 children into their family, with their firstborn being Maureen Rebby Jackson. To support their growing family, Joe took on a second job at the American Foundries in Chicago, while Catherine began working at Sears in Gary, Indiana. Their dedication to providing for their children was unwavering, and their love for each other formed the foundation of their family's strength. During this period, Joe's creative pursuits extended beyond boxing. He found solace and expression in music, playing guitar in a band called the Falcons with his brother Luther. This artistic outlet would later influence his approach to nurturing the talents of his own children, setting the stage for their extraordinary musical careers. In 1963, Joe Jackson had a revelation that would change the course of his family's history. He became acutely aware of the musical talent brimming within his children and swiftly transformed himself into their acting manager. What began as a family group would soon captivate the world as the Jackson Five. Initially, Joe focused on his three oldest sons, Tito, Jermaine, and Jackie, but the lineup eventually expanded to include the prodigiously talented Michael and Marlon. Originally performing under the name the Jackson Brothers, the group honed their skills at local talent shows and high school functions before Joe began booking them in more prestigious venues, including the legendary Apollo Theater in New York City. The Jackson Five's journey to stardom began in earnest when they landed their first record contract in November 1967 with Gordon Keith, the president of Steeltown Records in Gary. Their debut single, Big Boy, released in 1968, failed to make a significant impact. However, their fortunes changed dramatically the following year when they won an amateur night contest, securing them a coveted Motown record contract in March 1969. This pivotal moment led the family to relocate to Los Angeles, with Joe sitting in on every recording session, ensuring his children's talent was nurtured and showcased to its fullest potential. The release of their first Motown single, I Want You Back, catapulted the Jackson Five to widespread fame. The song soared to the top of the charts, and the group followed up with a string of hit albums and singles. Other chart-topping tracks included ABC, The Love You Save, and I'll Be There, all released in 1970. These successes solidified the Jackson Five as a musical phenomenon, captivating audiences worldwide with their infectious energy and undeniable talent. In 1974, Joe Jackson ventured into the record industry by founding his own label, Ivory Tower International Records. The artist signed under his management toured the world as opening acts for the Jackson Five, further expanding the family's musical empire. However, the group's tenure with Motown Records came to an end in 1975 when they signed with Epic Records. This transition marked a period of change, as Michael and Jermaine began pursuing solo careers. In the mid-70s, the group was forced to rebrand themselves as the Jacksons after discovering that Motown president Berry Gordy had copyrighted their original name. Joe Jackson's influence extended beyond his sons, as he played a pivotal role in launching the career of his daughter, Janet Jackson. In 1982, he financed the recording of her first demo and got her involved in movies, setting the stage for her eventual signing with A&M Records. Janet's subsequent rise to stardom further cemented the Jackson family's legacy in the music industry. In the quiet town of Fountain Hill, Arkansas, there's an old, abandoned house that holds a hidden chapter of American music history. This is where Joe Jackson and Catherine Screws first began their life together back in 1949, long before the bright lights and global fame that would define their family's legacy. It's hard to imagine that this humble two-bedroom house in a secluded part of Arkansas was the starting point of a journey that would eventually lead to a legendary career in entertainment. However, it wasn't long before they moved on, eventually settling into a small, unassuming home on 2300 Jackson Street in Gary, Indiana. This modest house, tucked away in the industrial landscape near East Chicago, would soon become the epicenter of a musical revolution. It was here, in this tiny space, that the Jackson family nurtured the talent that would captivate the world. The walls of that home echoed with the early melodies and harmonies of a young group of brothers who would go on to make history as the Jackson Five. Their story is one of extraordinary talent and resilience, a journey from this humble address to the heights of global superstardom, all beginning with little more than a dream and an unyielding work ethic. But there's another house in the Jackson story, one that stands in stark contrast to their Indiana home, a traditional log cabin in the secluded woods of Fountain Hill, Arkansas. Built in 1970, this two-bedroom, one-bathroom retreat couldn't be more different from the bustling streets of Gary. The 1,176-square-foot cabin offered a peaceful escape, a quiet sanctuary far from the flashing cameras and roaring crowds. Its cozy living room, combined with a small kitchen, radiated a sense of rustic charm. The cabin had its own unique touches. A chandelier hanging in the living room added an unexpected dash of elegance to the rustic setting. The kitchen, though compact, was outfitted with modern amenities, including a dishwasher, making it a surprisingly practical space. It seemed to be a work in progress, a project that was never fully completed. Perhaps it was meant to be a quiet refuge, a place to retreat and reflect. But as the years rolled on, the log home began to show signs of neglect and abandonment. The charm it once held faded away, replaced by the weathered scars of time and disuse. The chandelier, once a symbol of hope and elegance, now hangs as a solitary relic in an empty room, more like a ghostly reminder of what once was. The kitchen, too, has fallen silent. The dishwasher that once hummed with the activity of family life now sits idle, gathering dust and cobwebs. Today, this forgotten cabin stands as a poignant reminder of the Jackson family's humble beginnings. It's a testament to their roots, a physical embodiment of a time before the glitz and glamour, before the music changed everything. Though the house itself may have decayed, the legacy of the Jackson family remains vibrant and enduring, continuing to inspire and captivate fans across the globe. From the cramped quarters of their modest home in Gary, Indiana, to the serene isolation of the log cabin in Fountain Hill, Arkansas, the Jackson family's story is one of perseverance, talent, and an unshakable belief in the power of music. The abandoned cabin may now be a shadow of its former self, but it still whispers of the past, of the early days of a family that would go on to become a musical dynasty. And while the building itself may stand silent, the spirit of the Jackson family, their extraordinary journey, and their incredible contribution to music will forever resonate in the hearts of fans around the world. Joe Jackson was known to the world as the driving force behind the legendary Jackson family, but his story doesn't end with music. Throughout his life, he used his influence to uplift others, championing causes close to his heart. Beyond the spotlight, Joe's philanthropic efforts reflected his deep-seated values of equality, education, and humanitarianism, and his commitment to making the world a better place. One of the causes Joe was passionate about was the fight for equal rights. He lent his support to the American Foundation for Equal Rights, an organization dedicated to ensuring that all Americans, regardless of their background, have access to the same opportunities and protections. AFER's most notable achievement was its involvement in the historic Perry versus Schwarzenegger case, which challenged California's Proposition 8, a law that banned same-sex marriage. By standing behind legal battles like this, Joe showed that his commitment to equality wasn't just about words, it was about action. He believed in tearing down walls of discrimination and was never afraid to use his platform to promote justice and fairness for all, echoing his lifelong fight against systemic barriers that keep people apart. Joe also recognized the transformative power of music, a lesson he'd learned firsthand through the phenomenal success of his own children. He supported the Music Empowers Foundation, an organization dedicated to bringing music education to children across the country. Joe knew that music was more than just entertainment. It was a means of expression, a way for young minds to explore, create, and find their voice. Through this foundation, countless kids who otherwise wouldn't have had the chance were given the gift of music, the tools to dream big, and the confidence to find their unique rhythm in life. Health and well-being were also at the forefront of Joe's philanthropic endeavors, particularly when it came to combating the HIV/AIDS epidemic. He was a supporter of the Elton John AIDS Foundation, a global leader in the fight against the disease. This foundation not only provides essential care and education, but also works tirelessly to eliminate the stigma surrounding HIV/AIDS. Joe's involvement in this cause was personal and profound, reflecting his desire to see a world where health disparities are addressed and everyone has access to life-saving resources and support. In his philanthropic work, Joe also focused on the fundamental needs of communities: food, shelter, and safety. He supported various organizations that provided these essential services, believing that every person deserves to live with dignity and security. He understood that addressing these basic needs was the first step toward building stronger, more resilient communities. Joe Jackson's dedication to giving back didn't stem from a desire for recognition, but from a genuine sense of responsibility. He knew that, with the influence and resources he had, he could make a real difference, and he took that responsibility to heart. His legacy as a philanthropist is a testament to his belief that success is not measured by personal achievements alone, but by the positive impact one has on others. In his early 20s, while immersed in the vibrant blues scene and performing with his brother Luther in a band, Joe Jackson crossed paths with Catherine Screws. Their connection was immediate, and they tied the knot in November 1949. This union marked Joe's second marriage, following a brief, annulled marriage earlier in his life. Throughout their marriage, Joe and Catherine navigated a complex and tumultuous journey. Joe was alleged to have had numerous extramarital affairs, which strained their relationship. In March 1973, Catherine filed for divorce with a Los Angeles county clerk, but ultimately decided to drop the proceedings, choosing to stay with Joe despite the challenges they faced. The following year, Joe fathered a daughter named Giovanni with Cheryl Terrell. This led to a 25-year-long affair between Joe and Cheryl as they raised Giovanni together. Despite this prolonged infidelity, Catherine attempted to divorce Joe once again in 1982, but she was persuaded to withdraw the action. In the years that followed, Joe moved to Las Vegas, while Catherine remained at the Jackson family home, Havenhurst, in Encino, California. Despite living separately, Catherine and Joe remained legally married until Joe's passing in 2018. Throughout their time apart, Catherine consistently denied rumors that she and Joe were estranged, maintaining a public stance of unity. The complexities of Joe and Catherine's relationship were a testament to the resilience and endurance of their bond. Despite the challenges and tribulations they faced, they remained committed to each other in their own unique way. Their story is one of perseverance, forgiveness, and the intricate dynamics of a long-term partnership. In 2011, Joe Jackson was honored with an induction into the Arkansas Black Hall of Fame, a prestigious recognition that celebrated his contributions and influence. This accolade was just the beginning of a series of notable acknowledgments that would follow in the years to come. In 2014, Joe's late son, Michael Jackson, was posthumously inducted into the Rhythm and Blues Music Hall of Fame, receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award. Joe proudly accepted the award on behalf of his son, a poignant moment that underscored the enduring legacy of the Jackson family in the world of music. The following year, Joe himself was honored by the organization, receiving the Humanitarian Award for his philanthropic efforts and commitment to social justice. In June 2015, Joe made a memorable appearance at the BET Awards alongside his daughter Janet, who was being honored with the Ultimate Icon Award. Their presence on stage together was a powerful testament to the Jackson family's enduring impact on the entertainment industry. However, later that same month, on July 27, 2015, Joe's health took a sudden turn. While celebrating his 87th birthday in Brazil, he was rushed to a hospital after suffering a stroke and heart arrhythmia. His condition was serious enough that he was not stable enough to fly out of the country for further treatment until 2 weeks later. Upon his return to Los Angeles on August 11th, he was treated at the Cedars-Sinai Medical Center to correct his blurred vision following the stroke. In January 2017, Joe faced another personal loss when his brother Lawrence passed away. This loss added another layer of complexity to Joe's life, as he continued to navigate the challenges of aging and health issues. On June 22, 2018, TMZ reported that Joe had been hospitalized in Las Vegas, revealing that he was in the final stages of terminal pancreatic cancer. Just 5 days later, on June 27th, Joe passed away at a hospice in Las Vegas at 3:30 a.m. He was surrounded by his wife, Catherine, and his surviving children, a poignant and intimate moment for the family. On July 2, 2018, Joe Jackson was laid to rest at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, near Los Angeles. This Southern California cemetery is also the final resting place of his son Michael, who was buried there in 2009. The interment marked the end of an era for the Jackson family, as they said their final goodbyes to a man who had shaped their lives and the world of music in profound ways. Joe Jackson's journey was marked by both triumph and tragedy, recognition and loss. His legacy as a manager, a philanthropist, and a patriarch of one of the most influential families in music history is a testament to his unyielding spirit and the indelible mark he left on the world. As we remember Joe Jackson, we celebrate his contributions, his resilience, and the enduring impact of his life and work.